Ever sat in class thinking, how am I supposed to remember all these themes for my exam? Trust me, you're not alone. But what if I told you that an inspector calls is actually one of the easiest plays to break down, once you know how to look at it the right way? In this video, I'm going to show you how J.B. Priestley uses key themes like social responsibility, class, and guilt to create a timeless story that's still super relevant today. Plus, I'll give you some top-tier exam tips on how to get those all-important marks. Let's get started. Alright, first up is the big one, social responsibility. This is the heart of the play, and it's something you absolutely can't afford to miss. Priestley is making a massive point about how we are all responsible for each other, no matter our social status. The play literally revolves around this idea. Priestley uses the inspector as his mouthpiece to hammer home this message. The inspector's line, "We are members of one body. We are responsible for each other," is the play's central message. This quote is a must-know for your exam. Now, here's a tip. When writing your essays, show how different characters respond to this idea of responsibility. For example, Mr. Burling is all about looking after himself and his money. He even says, "A man has to make his own way." But the younger characters, like Sheila and Eric, start to realize the importance of social responsibility as the play goes on. That's where you'll find some great contrasts to explore. Next, let's talk about class. An Inspector Calls was written just after World War II, but it's set in 1912, at a time when the class divide in Britain was massive. Priestley makes a point of showing how the upper class, like the Burlings, are out of touch with the struggles of the working class, like Eva Smith. Now, when we're talking class, look at how the Burlings treat Eva. She's seen as disposable, someone who can just be sacked or dismissed without a second thought. But the inspector challenges that attitude. He makes them, and us, question the way society is structured. This is a key quote from Sheila, showing how her attitude towards class changes throughout the play. It's a great example to use when talking about character development and the theme of class. Exam tip: when you're writing about the theme of class, don't just focus on Eva Smith. Show how different characters represent different social classes, and how their attitudes reflect the time period Priestley is criticizing. Now let's dive into guilt. This ties closely to social responsibility, but it's important to show how each character deals with their own guilt. Mr. and Mrs. Burling refuse to accept any responsibility for their actions. Mr. Burling even says, "I can't accept any responsibility," while Mrs. Burling is equally defensive, claiming, "I did nothing I'm ashamed of." But compare this to Sheila and Eric, who are racked with guilt. Sheila says, "I know I'm to blame, and I'm desperately sorry." This is a turning point for her character. She's acknowledging her responsibility, and feels genuine guilt. That's a crucial point to bring up in your essay, how different generations react to guilt. The older Burlings deny it, while the younger ones own up to their mistakes. This generational gap is something you can really dig into when you're analyzing the theme of guilt. And don't forget the inspector's final speech. "We are responsible for each other," reminding us that guilt isn't just personal, it's social. It applies to everyone. Finally, let's touch on gender roles. Priestley is making some big statements about the role of women in society. Think about how Eva Smith is treated, not just as a worker, but as a woman. She's exploited by both men and the system, and her treatment reflects the way women, particularly working-class women, were seen as second-class citizens. Even Gerald, who seems to care for Eva, objectifies her. His description of her is more about her looks than her character. And let's not forget how Mrs. Burling, a woman herself, fails to show any solidarity with Eva. Priestley is pointing out the internalized misogyny and the way society limits women's opportunities. When you write about this in your essays, focus on how Priestley uses characters to represent different attitudes towards women, and how those attitudes reflect the time period. So, there you have it. An Inspector Calls isn't just a play about one family, it's a commentary on society, responsibility, class, guilt, and gender roles. These themes are woven throughout the play, and understanding them can make your essays stand out. Just remember, focus on how the characters react to these themes, how Priestley uses them to critique society, and you'll be well on your way to mastering your GCSE exam. If this breakdown helped, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more study guides just like this. Got any questions? Drop them in the comments, and I'll be happy to help. See you in the next video.